Hey everyone, welcome back. Happy Wednesday, hump day, middle of the week. How did we do today? Not too good. Bitcoin was down, miners were down also except for two. We'll talk about those. We'll talk about also CORZ providing us with January production update. And then that one, we'll talk about also Microstrategy, now Strategy, changing their name and updating their website and everything else. We'll talk about that. We'll look at some of the financials as well a little bit. I'll give you guys my thoughts on it. We have a bunch of good news as well that we're not bullish enough on. So there's a lot to go through. But as always, you guys know the drill. Not financial advice, return only. Please do your own research. Full disclosure below that. And if you would be so kind and hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. But let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin here right now. Bitcoin was down a little bit today. It wasn't down too bad. We were down approximately 1.18% on the day. We closed at 96,638. We came back down to lows here where we have been before as well, like right around 96,250 was kind of like the lows here. We could possibly draw a line here where it's kind of either support or resistance on that, because you can see that also happening here more times than not in this level right around here, that we have a bunch of support and resistance markers as well. So we could possibly draw a line there. And right now we are kind of on that line where it's debating which way it wants to go, whether it's going to go up or down here. I really don't know where Bitcoin wants to go. RSI on the daily is still pretty good at 43 right now. I mean, last time we were a little bit higher on it than where we are right now, or at least where we stopped out at, but we're not too far off from it, so it's not looking that bad there. The 4-hour chart, if we look at that, RSI, let's see, we're higher, price is actually higher, so that's not bad. 1 hour, see where that one is, higher here, peaks, see, if we look at the peaks here, or the valleys actually, we can see, let's see, we're down here quite a bit. We're up a little bit here. RSI is up a little bit here. We were down actually a little bit with the same RSI. So it's kind of touch and go right now. We'll have to wait and see what happens tomorrow with it and everything else. But it wasn't too bad of a day for Bitcoin. Miners did a little bit worse today, unfortunately. Microstrategy was also down 3.33% today. But the miners that were only up was CORZ. CORZ was up 4.1% and IREN was up 3.65%. Everybody else was down. Like some of them were down only 2%, 4%, 3, 2, 4, 4 for Bitfarms. So you can see that on the side. We're not going to get too deep in it. You guys probably already saw that anyways. ANY was down as well, 6%. Argo 5. Who else was down quite a bit here? Stronghold was down 5% on that. ETFs were down as well on the day today. Let's see, what else do we have? Doge was, actually, I don't know if that's on the new day here for Doge. But King was flat on the day. Applied was up 5%. Trump Coin was up 2%. Tesla was down 3%. Galaxy was down just a little bit here. NVIDIA was up 5.21%. So that's where we are with it right now. Bitcoin for the month of February is not starting out too great. We're down 5.2% right now on it. But there's a lot of good news happening for us. So maybe just a bad start or a delayed start for Bitcoin here in the month of February, because we would expect it to be a good month given what we had here historically over the many, many years of Bitcoin trading. So we've had only 2 prior months where it was in the red and a bunch of green here. So we'll see if this is going to be a repeat of those green months again, which I believe it will. But time will tell. Okay, so there's that. Let's get into some of the good news that we are not bullish enough on. So the first one that we have here is this. So just in Bitcoin could hit 500,000 long-term, says Standard Chartered and note to investors. This is their targets here. In 2025, 200,000 by the end of the year. 2026, 300,000. 2027, 400,000. 2028, 500,000. This kind of goes with my thoughts on having an extended cycle. What if Bitcoin just continues to go up? Right? We don't know. We'll obviously have to wait and go through the process and find out on the other end of it. But that is kind of interesting that they're also looking to have possibly Bitcoin go through an extended cycle here with everything that's happening. Adoption, right? That's all driving it. So great news there. Somebody else is also thinking about this. A little update here. So Sovereign Wealth Fund plan from Besant and Lutnick expected in 90 days, while Sachs crypto plan is set for 170 days to be something positive there. So we have a little bit of ways to go, but that's okay as long as we're moving in the right direction going forward. And then New Mexico State Senator Anthony L. Thornton has introduced a bill that would allow the state to invest 5% of its fund into Bitcoin, right? More and more states are getting on the side of Bitcoin here, which is great news to see. Arizona here, Bitcoin Reserve Bill passed Democrat and Republican caucuses votes and moves to general floor for vote. It's happening, right? Rocket emoji going to the moon. Bitcoin has the moon here as it is. So a lot of good stuff happening here. Next, we now have 22 U.S. states that have introduced bills, Bitcoin bills so far, right? Bullish. Yesterday we talked about this. We had 21 only. So it is just continuing to snowball down the hill here. More and more states, love it. Next here, breaking FDIC to allow banks to offer Bitcoin and crypto services to revised guidance. So crypto custody also being discussed. This is from Barron's. And this is what they had to say in here. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corp, FDIC, plans to revise bank guidelines for crypto, aiming to allow banks to embark on some crypto activities without getting regulatory permission first. Some banks have met with government officials to push for offering custody of crypto assets along with tokenized deposits that could put some checking accounts on blockchains, according to persons familiar with the matter. That's pretty interesting that they're looking to do it on blockchain. And to compete with the stablecoins, some banks this year met with senior FDIC officials to talk about potentially offering tokenized deposits, among other things, according to people familiar with the matter. So we are having progress in the banks as well. Good news there. And this kind of coincides here a little bit with Elon Musk here. Now Elon Musk proposes putting the U.S. Treasury on blockchain for full spending transparency. Citizens could track taxpayer dollars in real time. I think personally this would be a great thing. Shedding light on what's being spent there would be a good thing for people to possibly not put, a bunch of junk and crap programs in place to begin with, funding some of the stuff that's really ridiculous and everything else. All right, next. So that's all the good news that we have here tonight. So this is all the stuff that you're not bullish enough on. Going forward, I'm starting to think more and more that we're going to be in an extended cycle with Bitcoin here, but we shall see. All right, next here, MicroStrategy. I'll give you my 2 cents on it. First of all, I love the new website here. So much data. Me being a data nerd, I love seeing this. This is awesome here to see everything all in one place. You got MicroStrategy, you got BTC here. You got their debts, you got their assets, you got their options, you got their charts, right? BSC return here. Wow, that's huge there. Depending when that's going from or what date. I think they're looking at this from, doesn't say here from when. But history of when they've been buying also on here. You can see acquisitions of Bitcoin, what prices they were buying as well. So this is awesome data for obviously people that are looking to invest possibly in strategy now. You can see all their purchases here, the notes, everything is here on the website. It is looking really good. So today they had their quarterly results come out, right? And they didn't take advantage of the FSB rules. They're holding off to use those until the first quarter of 2025. So they were basically, let's get into it here really quick. I have this twice. Let's see here. Down here. So this is their consolidated statement of operations, right? Things look pretty good here. Product licenses were down a little bit. Subscription services were up, so that was good. Total product licenses and subscription services were up to 47 from 39. Nice increase there. Product support was down to 58 from 65. Other services was down also from 15 to from 19, and the total revenues was down a little bit here. So what is that, about 4.2 million or something like that they were down, so not too bad. Product license costs were up. Subscription services were also up. Total product licenses and subscription was up. Product support was up. Other services was actually down here. So the total cost of revenues was 34 compared to 28, so that is an increase there. And then gross profit was 86 from 96. But going down here to general, where is it? There it is. Digital asset impairment losses, they basically wrote off $1 billion here on digital asset losses. So they're going with the old FASB, or before the FSB rules came into play, which you had to mark the Bitcoin at the lowest portion or lowest position at that time period. So that's what they did there on that, and that obviously contributed them to having a $3.03 loss per earnings per share, basically, at that point, whereas they had the year prior at 58 cents gain here. Right? Am I looking at that right? Yeah, for the 3 months ended. And then for the 12 months ended here, they came in at a loss of $6.06 compared to a $3.14 gain per share there. All right. So I think the best is yet to come from MicroStrategy, possibly when they do use the FSB rules, which they have stated that they are going to be doing that, which is down here. This is part of their notes or their presentation for the conference call that they had today about the earnings. They mention it down here someplace. Where do they mention? They're talking about the websites, the news site for strategy software as well, and then the Bitcoin for corporations. They're going to have a Strategy World, Orlando, May 5th through the 8th. Corporate highlights, here it is. adoption of FSB fair value accounting starting in Q1. So that should add quite a substantial amount to their earnings per share there. That should be a nice catalyst, which will probably get that data, I'm guessing, sometime in April, right? March, April, well, maybe not April, possibly May. We'll probably get that in May sometime, as far as when those come out for the first quarter here of 2025. I mean, they have a lot of data here. You guys know a lot about MicroStrategy as it is, right? They raise capital, whether it's through debt, through ATMs, through additional shares, things like that. They have raised the number of shares that's available to them from 300 million something to like 10 billion something right now. So they are going to be continuing to do this hamster wheel of gains on Bitcoin and everything else that they can, while the pot is hot, I guess you could say, with Bitcoin, right? And especially Bitcoin does go into a extended cycle. This is going to bode well for not only for MicroStrategy, but also bode well for the miners themselves going forward, because that way they're going to be generating more revenue. It's going to be more consistent revenue also, but it's going to be going up hopefully for them, and it'll be an interesting couple of years here that we might be in. But we shall see here, right? You guys can look at all this stuff here. I mean, MicroStrategy, for my take on it, is probably should have a little MicroStrategy in there. Sometimes it gets a little overheated, a little frothy, right? Especially if we look at the chart here on MicroStrategy. I said when I got to like close to $500, I was saying it's getting a little overheated here. I would expect a pullback. Sure enough, we got a pullback here, and it's been kind of trading sideways more or less ever since then. It bottomed out here in December 31st. It's gone up a little bit, come back down. So it's trading more in line where I thought it would be. But still, Bitcoin goes up. This thing is going to do very well also. So I would say have a little MicroStrategy in there. It's just a good little hedge bet, what do you want to call it, on Bitcoin as well, just like the miners I think are in the next 6 to 9 months, maybe 12 months, we'll see. Or it could be for a couple more years. I just don't know. But we will find out for sure. All right, so that's it on MicroStrategy here. The next thing we're going to talk about here is CORZ. So CORZ Scientific announces their January update here. It's going to be a quick one for them. Self-mined Bitcoin here was 256. They got 17 earned by their customers. Portion of that goes to them. Don't know exactly how much of a portion does. And then self-mined energized hash rate was 18.5, down a little bit from the December number of 19.1. Bitcoin sold. They didn't sell anything. They're starting to hodl more and more. I tried figuring out what they actually hodl here. We'll look at that in a second on my spreadsheet. But that's basically it. That's all we got right now. They are still, working towards getting the sites ready for CoreWeave there. Everything else, they're working on that to start getting revenue from CoreWeave once those sites are ready, energized, and GPUs are plugged in, and servers, everything else is plugged in at those facilities. All right, so that's that. Let's go to my spreadsheet here on CORZ. CORZ currently has about 279 million shares outstanding, stock price of $12.71 as of today, market cap $3.5 billion. The performance over the last 12 weeks hasn't been great, but a lot of the miners hasn't been great either, so not too concerned about that. Current hash rate, that should have been updated. Why didn't that update? What did I mess up here? Let's see here, 19. Oh, I didn't bring it down to the latest numbers. Okay, there we go. Sorry, 18.5 future hash rate. I have it at 20 because that's what they have right now, but I think a lot of the machines that they do have been getting turned off. We're still waiting on them to get the block ASIC miners as well, the 15 exahash there, which would be used to swap out some of these older machines that they do have, and then increase their hash rate a little bit as well. HODL position, I think it's like right around 500 something right now. You can see it over here because they have been adding about 212 here in December, 256 here in January. November was about 42, so I think they're close to 500. So if we give them 500, I'm just giving 500 right now. What is that actually at? That's like 48 million right now in HODL position as it is. So it's a start, right? They've been, after the bankruptcy, they were not able to HODL. They had to basically pay off certain debts and obligations before they could start to HODL again. And it does look like they're HODLing right now. I wish they would actually provide it in the numbers what their HODL position is, but you can kind of figure it out more or less if things stay this way. Bitcoin production here down to 256, right? We've been seeing a continuation of a decline in that, mainly because they're not upgrading their machines. They have the same machines, and they're decreasing their hash rate as well over time. So that's a result of that. Revenues also were down a little bit here to 25.6 million from 28.5 the prior month. And then hash rate, like I said, has been coming down as well as they're moving things around and getting sites ready for CoreWeave. Bitcoin sold here looks like they sold 0 in January, 79 in December, so they've been selling less and less, hodling more and more, it looks like. And then BTC per exahash efficiency here down to 13.84, so not great. Actually, that's on the lower end side of things for the month compared to some of the other miners as well. And then you can see how much they've been selling here so far over the last 12 months, 13 months actually. So when we look at the institution side of things here, institutions increased even more here to 363. Shares also increased to 201 million, so a slight improvement there. And then percentage owned went up to 71.94. We now have one more additional strong buy rating to 11. We have also one more buy rating now to 4 and one hold rating. Underperform is 0, sell is 0. Price target still the same at 26 for the high. Average went up a little bit here to 20.67, and the low stayed the same at 17, the same on that one. Going down here, the miners, I did reduce a little bit of these older miners here for them in January to get us down to the 18.5 exahash here. They have a bunch of these 98 terahash. They have still a bunch of 102 terahash miners, 100 terahash miners, a bunch. And then they were able to get some newer miners as well here recently in the past year, which helped them greatly as well. But I probably should get rid of some of these older ones here that are not pretty. I could probably clean this up a little bit, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. But based on that, they were operating for about 22.41 days. And that got us to 25.596 million roughly, which would coincide with pretty close to that, 25.598 here. So I'm off by $3,000, not a big difference there. Okay, based on all this, and if we look at that revenue for January times 12 months, plus I'm including like $500 million in revenue for HPCI business from CoreWeave that's going to be happening going forward. I'm in between $21.68 and $32, a little bit higher than the analysts do, but I have a PE of 15 here. If we look, so I do think that they are right now undervalued based on that, right? But if we look at their just Bitcoin mining over the last 3 quarters in the current quarter that we're in, I'm in between $9.10 to $13.65, which would make them kind of fairly valuable based on that. But I believe the market is forward-looking, and this is more in line where I think they should be. So they are undervalued, just like a lot of these miners are right now. We'll see when that changes, whether it's going to be the quarterly results that come out or the shorts, flipping sides to going along on these guys. Time will tell on it. But that's basically it. That's all I got for you guys. Tomorrow we'll have, obviously, Cleanspark reporting. I'm expecting it to be a good quarter for them. We'll see if I'm right or not, but I'm expecting it to be a good quarter for them. And then we'll cover whatever else we have left to cover. I only have a couple more miners left that are missing here for the month. I got BitDeer still hasn't reported, Hive, IREN hasn't reported yet, and Turtle. So I got, 2, 3, 4 more miners that haven't reported. I'm hoping we'll get those updates here in the next couple of days from these guys. And then we'll cover that as well, and then we'll get into some of the metric side of things for all these guys for the month of January. All right, but let's get into you guys' Q&A side of things here and see where that takes us down the rabbit hole. As always, if you guys could preface your question with a question mark, and I'm going to scroll up a little bit to try and catch up on some of the questions. Let's see. And I'm going to work my way down, so be patient, and we'll get to all your guys' questions as always. All right. Ravender asks, hey Seb, is the bull market over? No, I don't think so. Not with everything that's going on. I don't believe so, no. Let me see. Miner Degen says, the miners really suffer when BTC enters these long sideways patterns. Yeah, they like, the upward trajectory more so than the sideways pattern. I would agree there. Chris, you're trying to get me again with Lutnick on his name. Not going to work this time. But nice try, though. Let's see. Victor asks here. Why didn't that pop up? Victor, was there good news for Core yesterday? AI sector was up yesterday along with Core and NVIDIA. I didn't see anything that was super bullish or anything like that. I think it was just in general the market was going up that way. They were being down for, since last Monday, right? Remember, not this Monday, but the previous Monday before that, when the slip, or was it Sleep Seek, whatever the heck it's called, came out. Let's see. It says, what's up, Seb? I know you've mentioned it before, but what are you expecting Cleanspark to report for EPS, and where do you see their stock price going in a week following the report? Well, I think they're going to be somewhere like, I think I have it at like $1.30 to $1.60, somewhere around there. possibly, depending on how much they put in for junk for stock-based compensation and other things like depreciation and things like that. So it depends where that comes in. Where could the stock go? That I don't know. I mean, in a week, last time they provided a good report, the stock did run up nicely to like, what was it, 20%, 30% in a couple of days. Could we see the same thing? Possibly. But honestly, we'll take whatever we can get right now. Bitcoin also needs to run up, though. I think that would be a huge help. If they came out with really good numbers and Bitcoin goes back up to over 100,000, 105,000, then things might be off to the races a little bit, for at least a little bit. Let's see. Let's see here. Seb, how are you feeling, Gladiator? Is he bullish enough? Who's that? Gladiator? I don't know who Gladiator is. Let's see. Seb, in the past, you had Riot and Bitfarms in the most underrated miners category. If you had to choose one miner that looks on track to be the great performer in 2025, what would you choose? So with Bitcoin going up, right? So if Bitcoin goes up to 200,000 by the end of the year or something like that, I would think we would see possibly Cleanspark and IREN. I think those guys are some of the most undervalued. I think also Mara could be in that boat as well. Right now, those are the ones I'm kind of seeing, but we'll see. We'll see if that comes out to fruition or not. Let's see. BTC began dumping when the White House kept talking about controlling Gaza and resettling Palestinians, sort of like the trade war nonsense. How does BTC get going when Trump never shuts up? We just need to have good news. You know, I mean, we're seeing the good news here, but everybody's just looking at what Trump is doing and how things might work. But they're also not looking at how they're trying to lower the 10-year Treasury notes, right? Get the interest on those down. That would be a good sign as well. So there's a lot of good things happening. Short-term volatility, yes, but then you're going to have also these possible explosive growth in not only Bitcoin miners, MicroStrategy, and other things as well at that point. So it is frustrating when it is happening and you're watching it just kind of, you know, bob up and down in the waves on it. Let's see. When will they be getting paid from the contract? Thanks. It should start somewhere around like the middle of the year for Core, that is, from CoreWeave. They're supposed to have like the first site up and running by the end of the first half here. So somewhere around there is where I'm getting. Let's see. Do you think Congress will pass legislation on stable coins soon? I think it's going to take a while. Just like the strategic Bitcoin reserve and everything else, I think it's going to take a little while. You know, I'm guessing 100 days plus on top of it. So we'll see where that goes. What is the most undervalued miner right now? If you look at like the enterprise value and things like that, let's see if I have the latest data on those guys. For the enterprise value here really quick, where'd it go? Enterprise value, I think it's still probably going to be, let's see, it's still going to be Hive, yeah. I mean, right now, here it is. Take a look at this. So this is based on the enterprise value as it is right now. And I don't think I've updated this yet since some of these guys have provided the latest hash rate for the current. The future should be okay. But Hive is still the most undervalued. Bitfarms is there, but there's a reason for that, right? Then you got IREN here at 39, Cleanspark at 48 as well. And those guys are definitely undervalued. And you got Riot kind of actually surpassing Marathon now. So that's why I said IREN, Cleanspark, Marathon possibly in there in that boat of which might do very well here this next 6, 9 months, 12 months, whatever it might be on it. All right, back here. All right. I don't understand Hive. Do you think earning could move it? Their earnings? I don't think so. I don't know if they're going to be able to take advantage of the FASB rules just yet. Even if they do move to the United States here, or if they've already moved, I'm not sure. But even if they do, I think it's going to take a while for them to get that all updated to the GAAP accounting standards. So I think it's got maybe a little ways to go. So I'm not sure that's going to be the catalyst that drives that one up on it. Yeah, it is. I mean, I understand why, right? Canadian-based wasn't getting this love as much as some of the United States-based miners because you have more optionality and everything else with investments and things like that. So maybe once they do move in to the United States, get settled in, get everything for GAAP accounting, then things might look a little bit better for them. But they have really good growth here this year. I'm loving the growth here. But it's also going to mean that they're going to have probably some dilution there as well. Let's see. Is Cleanspark going to use FSB tomorrow? Yeah. They've been using it since last year, the first quarter that they reported for as well. Let's see. Your question update on Dear Lewis. I have not heard anything. Right. So my thoughts and prayers are with Dear Lewis there. Hope he recovers quickly and gets back onto being on Twitter and everything else. Miss the guy, that's for sure. He always had a bunch of good stuff that he was putting out in the community for miners and things like that. Great host also of spaces. Very eloquent in the way he spoke. So definitely miss him. Wish him all the best. Hope he does recover quickly. All right, let's see. What do you think of Ben's comments that moving to U.S. will require them to redo past financial statements and it cannot be done in 3 to 6 months? Does this mean they will not move to U.S. in Q1? Doesn't sound like it based on his comments. Yeah. I didn't know that you would have to do all of your accounting going back 7 years because you moved to the United States. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that seems a little crazy that you have to do all that to get it switched over to the GAAP accounting system. I would think that you would be able to, start fresh the year. So ideally, if you're starting out the year, you want to do it in the year that is your, I guess maybe your fiscal year. If you're doing in that, but I don't know. I'm not a SEC accountant or anything like that, so I don't know how that all works. Let's see. Will Bitcoin hit 120,000 February end? I think so. I still think it might be actually a little higher than that, but we'll see. All right. What's your overall outlook on IREN? IREN moved their earnings forward to 12th of February from the 21st, 24th. Historically speaking, it's bullish when a company does this, so you think it's a strategic move. It might be. I think the future for IREN is bright, right? They have a lot of megawatts. They're building out the Bitcoin mining still. They're not putting a pause on it. They're going forward with that. I'd love to see them hodl a little bit more. They don't hodl anything right now, but I'd love to see them hodl as well. But overall, they do have HPCI potential there as well on one site or maybe 2 sites even. So I think everything is looking good. Let's see here. Seb, if you want to see where Bitcoin is moving, just look at the short liquidation heat map. All the big players just pocketing the short money and long money. Next up is the leg to 100,000 tomorrow. Okay, interesting. I'll have to take a look at that. Let's see. I think the only thing that'll threaten an extended bull cycle is Republicans losing control of either chamber of Congress. Yeah, that might, maybe, but that's, when's the next voting in 2 years, I think, right? It's like every 2 years that we have something happening there. All right, what else do we have here? Sadie, thank you so much for the likes. I appreciate it. Let's see, Hive is the most undervalued miner, and I'm holding 50,000 shares. Very nice. I held on to Hive from 2017 through, when did I sell? I think 2023 is when I sold. And the main reason for that was their lack of growth, right? But everybody else was growing like crazy. Big plans for growth. They also kind of stumbled on GPU mining with for Ethereum. They didn't think the Ethereum proof of stake was going to happen that quickly, and so they kind of fumbled on that a little bit, but they have rebounded since then. So it's looking much better than where they were just a year ago or two. Let's see. With the alt season around the corner coming this February, how will that affect the price of Bitcoin and miners per se? Well, I don't know if we're going to have an alt season. I mean, you can see Bitcoin dominance here has been getting larger and larger. So I don't know if we're going to have an alt season. Everything now is concentrated around more so on Bitcoin, a lot more, and then to a certain extent also on like Ethereum. But the alts, yeah, I just don't know. Right, let's see here. BlackRock owns 5% of Cypher. Are you bullish on them? What is your price target for Cypher? Cypher, I think, is going to do great. I know that a lot of their growth is going to be happening here in like the second half of 2025 into 2026. And if we have an extended cycle, that's going to bode well for them. So that one might be also one you want to kind of get into as well, because they do have a huge pipeline. They've been selling some of their Bitcoin here to fund the operations and growth as well. They got an investment from SoftBank, right, for $15 million, something like that. So there might be something happening there for the HPCI business. Yeah, the only thing is that not a lot of growth in Bitcoin mining here that's reported. We'll see what they report when they report the quarterly results for Q4 fiscal year end, as far as what are their targets for the next 12 months or so. Let's see here. So I think a personal goal for your channel should be landing an interview. You've paid your dues and are more than ready to do one. Yeah, I mean, I could have done interviews. I've had plenty of people reaching out to do that, want to come on the channel, have me do interviews. I don't do interviews. There's other people that do interviews, Bryce and Anthony, everybody else that does interviews. But the other part of it is, it's tough for me. I work a full shift during the day, right? I have a full-time job, and then I do this on the side. So it's the only time I could possibly do interviews would be like on the weekends. So that's not going to work out, right? I don't want to. Time is limited, and I have to split it between obviously my full-time job, my family, and then this comes third, obviously. So not a lot of time left in the day to do that. But I appreciate the comment there. Let's see. So do you own Hive? So if so, yeah, I did own it from 2017 to 2023. I didn't sell it at the peak of 2021. I should have. Lesson learned. So let's see here. Chris says, I agree. There is a way to do interviews without becoming friends with them and maintaining neutrality. Yeah, that's also the other part. I've always wanted to maintain neutrality. But that doesn't mean I can't. I've reached out to some of these CEOs before as well. If I had questions, they've been very kind. They've reached back, let me know their thoughts, or if I was wrong on something. So I love that part of it. But yeah, there's people that do interviews, and they're great at it. Why add another person to do interviews? You would hear the same thing again, for the most part. Let's see here. Hey, Seb, it's been a minute. Omar, yeah. Cleanspark earnings tomorrow could be the catalyst. Do you expect instant stock reaction or delayed price reaction? What happened last year? Was it delayed or instant? Can we check? I don't know if it was delayed or instant. Let's take a look at it here. And Cleanspark, let me pull that up here if we can find it. Let's go back to last year. Let's see, this was May. It was pretty instant here if we look at it. Let's go back to, not that one. I want this one. Okay, so here's the earnings that came out, right? They had good earnings. Earnings came in, surprise, right? Reported 14, estimated was negative number here. Revenue was also up a little bit here. And what did the stock do? The stock went up on, well, pretty much the day before it was going up, it seems like, or a day or two before, and then just went up on a nice rally here. So we'll have to wait and see what happens tomorrow, right? Will the stock go up on the news, or will it be based on Bitcoin, or what Bitcoin's doing? We'll find out tomorrow, I guess, but I think the results should be pretty good. Let's see here. As CORZ is getting closer to getting paid, will that catalyst be the catalyst that prices as it's undervalued at the moment? I would think so, right? It's also, CORZ, has been like the one that hasn't been as, I would say, choppy, if that makes sense. Let's go back here to the screen. So CORZ just has been continually, except for the last DeepSeek here for FOFL that we had, it has been more or less just kind of going up, right? Regardless of what's happening here with more or less Bitcoin and the miners and things like that, it's just been a nice run up, except we got to the high of it here in, what was it, November 26th. Kind of came back down, a little bit of pullback, but that's, I think, on Bitcoin as well. And then we were going back up. If it wasn't for this, I think we'd be still going back up. So DeepSeek definitely brought us back down a little bit to where I don't think some of these maybe should have come back down. I think some of these were a little too frothy. But like CORZ, I think that one still should go up more. So it is undervalued in my opinion. All right, let's go back here. Alrighty. Let's see here. Pitt says, Cleanspark might accumulate for a little while after the earnings and pop up. I personally not expecting them to run right away. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. It's tough. Last time Bitcoin was going up, last year at least it was. Let's see, as CORZ getting to get paid, will that catalyst drive? Yeah, I talked about that a little bit. What are my thoughts on Cleanspark's earnings tomorrow? I think there's going to be good earnings. I'm guessing somewhere between like $1.30 to maybe $1.60 something in EPS. We'll see how close I get to that. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. If they have good earnings, it should be a nice catalyst there. Let's see. Why would you not listen to your own metrics and rotate out of the overvalued miners and into the undervalued like Hive? Because there's other things that go into it. It's not just a net, right? So growth is a big thing for me. HODL as well, right around this time is a big thing for me. Operations, things like that. Where Hive has had good operations as far as uptime. The management there has been great as far as moving the company forward and everything else. The growth was the only factor for me in the past of not growing much, but this year they're growing from basically 6 exahash, possibly 25 exahash, something like that. So that is really good growth. There's about 4x growth here on it. So we'll have to wait and see how they do. I'm not saying that I won't get into it, but right now I still think some of the bigger miners like IREN, Cleanspark getting to 50 exahash, Marathon being at 50 exahash already, that revenue there is going to be double what Cleanspark could possibly make by the end of the year, right, if they get to 25 exahash. So that's kind of where I'm going there as well with it. There's a lot of things to look at, I guess. Let's see here. John Snow says there will be an alt season. There's always been one since 2017 February. Okay. We'll see if that's the case, right? What if it's a different cycle? That's the part of it. Let's see here. CG says, thanks for the Q&A. You're very welcome. Let's see here. Rick has a question. Hi, said Microstrategy didn't use the new FSB rules. Do you know if Cleanspark will be using FSB or hold off? No, they will be. They've been using them since last year. So they've taken advantage. When the FSB rules came out, the companies had an option to take advantage of those, or they could wait, and it's being basically now mandated that they have to use them for the beginning of 2025. I believe that's the way it works. All right. He said, what do you think Cleanspark would announce tomorrow besides expanding? Well, share buyback, reduce ATM, anything else? Well, they're done with the ATM, I believe. That ATM is gone. Right now, growth, well, we know that they're expanding. They're growing to about 50 some exahash here. I'd like to see some kind of a target for this year. Where do they plan on getting to this year? Right? Last year, they had a nice growth target to 31, 32 exahash, and they actually surpassed it, got to like 36 exahash, something like that, by the end of the year. So I'd like to see what the targets are going to be. That might be a good catalyst as well. If they're saying, we're going to get to like 75 exahash next year, or whatever it might be. And then also with the FSB rules, I'm expecting pretty good EPS on that. So it should be a good day, but we'll see. Okay. Hi, Seb. Why didn't MicroStrategy use the FSB rules? Because I think the reason for that was they couldn't do it in mid, because it was their end of the quarter. I think you have to have like more than 1 quarter of it in the FSB rules. I don't know the exact details, but that's the only thing I can think of that they didn't do it. So that definitely brought them down, but they should be able to use it, which they said they're going to be using in Q1 here in 2025. What time does Cleanspark earnings come out? I believe they come out in the morning. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was in the morning. Let's see here. Question, be honest. Do you regret buying miners and not just buying stocks like Hood, Palantir, Meta, etc. stocks while you're trying to act like you timed the exact bottom? Well, I didn't time the exact bottom, right? I've told you guys, I've been honest with it, that I've been buying Cleanspark at $9 in 2022, right? This was in like January. Bitfarms, same thing at like $5, and I just dollar cost average down. So I never said that I timed it perfectly. I don't know where you're getting that from, see. I've always been honest about that I just dollar cost average into them. So, but yeah, do I regret not buying some of the ones? No, because I'm still up on like Cleanspark 100%. So I'm still doing good on that. Right? Would it be nice to get like 5, 7, 8, 10x on something? Yeah, it would have been nice. But I'm still happy with what I got. And the cycle's not over yet, so I think there's more gains to be had here in the miners. But we'll see. The opinion on Cleanspark's report tomorrow, pump or dump. I think it's going to be pump. We'll see. Are you bullish for Cleanspark earnings tomorrow? I am. Do you have any shares for tomorrow or a target? Do you have any shares for tomorrow or a target? Shares, don't know what you mean by shares. Am I looking to buy more shares tomorrow? No. Do I have a target for tomorrow? I don't know where it's going to go. We'll have to wait to see what Bitcoin does and everything else. But I think even if they have a good report, they should run. I would think they would run a little bit. We'll see. Let's see here. Yeah, Charlie says, oh, that's a good point there. Yeah. During earnings, Microstrategy CFO Andrew King said the SDKR 8% dividend yield is going to be paid via ATM, aka shareholders are paying yeah, they're paying themselves basically through dilution. Okay, earnings are after hours, so I think they're having the conference call. Is it right at 4 p.m. Eastern or is it 4:30? I can't remember there. We'll cover that tomorrow as well, obviously, what happens there. Probably we shall see. Okay. All right. I think I've come up to all you guys' questions here. We'll see what happens tomorrow, as always. Right. I greatly appreciate you guys coming in here to chat a little bit, and we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's another day. It's not over yet. Cycle is not over yet. Don't freak out. C has a question. Let's be real. No one got into the miners for double. Oh, you can't see that. Sorry. Money and not 4, 5, 6, 10x is a loss, opportunity loss, no other way around it. Well, that's your way of seeing things. I see things a little bit different, right? So, yeah, I mean, there's always opportunity loss in everything that you do. But if you're up 100%, whatever, if we end up, let's just say we end up this cycle being up 3x from where I started from, right? So if I'm personally looking at my own situation, if I'm up 3x, 5x from where I started, I'm going to be happy with that over 3 to 4 years. Right? That's pretty good. I mean, there's no guarantee in life on anything. So if you get a good return, I'm going to be happy with it. So that's just me though. And then Mortem has a question here. Any concern that Cleanspark sold off before earnings? Well, if they did, I don't know why. I think maybe because some of the analysts are having them at negative EPS, which I think is wrong, but I'll see if maybe I'm wrong on that. I think the FASB rules, when applied, should give them positive EPS. So we shall see. And then we got here, Rick Henry says, Seb, appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks for coming in, as always, everyone. But yeah, we'll call it a day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Love you all. Have a great night. Until tomorrow.